I want you to imagine something with me. Not a place you can visit, not a journey you can return from, but a distance so vast that even light itself has given up trying to cross it. Tonight, I'm not traveling to a planet. I'm not flying to a star. I'm moving toward a boundary that is not really a boundary at all. I am moving toward the last reachable horizon of the universe. And once I reach it, everything familiar begins to dissolve. But what disturbs me most is not what I see, what I can't. So let me take you with me, slowly, quietly, because the further we go, the less certain reality becomes. When I look up at the night sky, it feels infinite. Stars scatter across the darkness like forgotten thoughts. Galaxies glow faintly, impossibly far away. And somewhere inside my mind, a comforting assumption forms. This is everything, but it isn't. What I see is not the universe. It is only the universe, very old, about 13.8 billion years old, to be precise. And light, no matter how fast it travels, has had only 13.8 billion years to reach my eyes. That means every star I see, every galaxy, every faint smudge of cosmic light is a message from the past. Some are millions of years old, some billions, and some are right at the limit. There is a maximum distance from which light has had enough time to reach me since the beginning of the universe. This distance defines something called the observable universe. It stretches roughly 46 billion light years in every direction. Not because the universe is only 46 billion light years wide, but because space itself has been expanding while the light traveled. So the light took 13.8 billion years to arrive, but the source is now much farther away. This boundary, this glowing shell of ancient light, is what I call the last reachable horizon. Beyond it, there is no darkness wall, no cosmic fence, just silence, because nothing beyond that point has ever had enough time to speak to me, and nothing ever will. I imagine myself floating there, no body, no breath, just awareness. In front of me is the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in existence. It is not bright. It does not shine. It whispers, a faint afterglow from a universe only 380,000 years old, when atoms first formed and light finally escaped. This glow marks the furthest point I can ever see, not because space ends here, but because time does, and that realization unsettles me, because if this is not the end of space, then what lies beyond my final moment of visibility? Here's the part that keeps me awake. This horizon isn't fixed, it's moving. Every second, space expands. Galaxies drift farther apart. Some are already moving away from me faster than light, not through space, but with space. That means they are slipping beyond my horizon. Right now, as I think, as you listen, entire galaxies are vanishing from the observable universe forever, not exploding, not dying, just becoming unreachable. Their future light will never arrive. They will continue to exist, but never again be known. And I wonder how many civilizations are disappearing right now without ever realizing they've been lost to us forever. I reach out mentally toward the edge, but there is nothing to touch. The horizon is not a place, it's a relationship between time, distance, and speed. If I were somewhere else in the universe, I would have a different horizon, different galaxies, different limits, which means this boundary is not universal, it's personal. The edge of the universe is different for everyone, and suddenly, the universe feels less like a structure and more like a perspective. Now comes the question that changes everything. If something exists beyond my horizon, but I can never observe it, does it exist for me? Physics tells me yes. Philosophy hesitates, because all of science is built on observation, on measurement, on interaction. And beyond this horizon, interaction is impossible. No light, no gravity, no information, just permanent separation. There may be galaxies forming stars, black holes merging, civilizations asking the same questions, but they are causally disconnected from me forever. And that word forever is heavier than space itself. I imagine what lies beyond, not darkness, because darkness requires light to be absent, not emptiness, because expansion suggests more of the same universe continues. Instead, I imagine a silent continuation, more space, more time, more matter, a universe still unfolding, but unreachable. And I feel something unexpected, not fear, but loneliness, because no matter how advanced we become, no matter how far we travel, there are places we are forbidden to know. This is where suspense begins to tighten, because if the universe continues beyond what I can see, then the observable universe is not the universe. It is only a bubble, a small, fading island of visibility, floating inside something vastly larger. And if that's true, then everything I know, every law of physics, I've tested every assumption about reality is based on a tiny fraction of existence, which means the true nature of reality may lie forever beyond my reach. You might wonder why this matters at all. After all, if we can't reach it, if we can't see it, if we can't interact with it, why care? Because limits shape meaning. Knowing there is an edge to our knowledge forces humility, and knowing there may be infinitely more beyond us forces wonder. It reminds me that the universe does not exist to be understood. It exists to exist, and I am only briefly aware of it. If the universe continues forever beyond what I can observe, what does that say about the reality I believe I understand? And more unsettling still, what if the greatest truths of existence lie forever beyond this horizon, watching me while I remain unable to look back? I thought reaching the edge would answer something. I thought once I understood the boundary of the observable universe, the mystery would finally stop growing. But it didn't, single quotes. It expanded, because when I looked closer, there was no wall, no edge, no ending, only a question that felt heavier than space itself. How can something have a limit without ever actually ending? And that's when I realized the horizon I was searching for was never a place. It was an illusion created by time. What if the edge of the universe exists only because I exist to observe it? I drift alongside the so-called cosmic horizon from a distance. It feels definitive, a clear line between what I know and what I don't. But the closer I imagine myself moving toward it, the more it dissolves, because no matter how far I go, the horizon stays exactly the same distance away, always retreating, always unreachable, like a mirage in a desert of space-time. And that's when it becomes clear. The observable universe is not bounded by space, it's bounded by time. If time had begun earlier, would the universe suddenly be larger? Light is honest. It tells me exactly how long it has traveled. Every photon arriving at my awareness is a timestamp from the past. The cosmic horizon exists because the universe has an age, 13.8 billion years. That number feels precise, comforting, but it also hides something unsettling. If the universe were older, I would see farther. If it were younger, my universe would be smaller. So, the size of everything I know depends entirely on how long reality has existed, which means the universe is not revealing itself fully. It is revealing itself on a delay. Am I seeing the universe as it is, or only as it once was? I pause and imagine something quietly disturbing, somewhere far beyond my horizon. There could be another observer, another mind, another consciousness, asking the same questions from their perspective. Their observable universe includes galaxies I will never see, and mine includes galaxies they never will. We are both correct, and we are both incomplete. So which of us sees the real universe? What if reality itself depends on where you stand inside it? This realization fractures something fundamental. There is no privileged viewpoint in the universe, no central location, no master observer. Every observer carries their own horizon, their own visible reality, their own slice of existence, which means the universe is not one shared experience. It is billions of overlapping but incomplete ones, and none of them, not even combined, can ever capture the whole. Could the true universe be something no single observer can ever know? Space itself is expanding, not into anything, just expanding. And it does so faster the farther away something is. This means distant galaxies aren't just far, they are fleeing, carried away by the stretching of space-time. Some are already gone, some are leaving right now. Their last photons are racing toward us, trying and often failing to outrun the expansion. Once those photons stop arriving, those galaxies don't disappear, they simply fall out of causality forever. How many worlds have already slipped beyond our reach without anyone noticing? This creates a universe with a memory problem, a universe that forgets, not because things stop existing, but because the ability to remember them vanishes. Information is lost to us, not destroyed. The universe keeps its secrets by placing them just far enough away, and I begin to understand something unsettling. Ignorance is not a failure of intelligence. It is a built-in feature of reality. Was the universe designed to be fully known or partially hidden? Is there an actual edge at all? I return to the idea of an edge, not the observable one, but a true ending. Does space itself stop somewhere, or does it continue endlessly? Current physics offers no wall, no final border, just continuation, more space beyond space. But this raises an even stranger thought. If the universe is infinite, then everything that can happen happens somewhere, repeated, endlessly. If the universe is infinite, does another version of you exist right now? The quiet horror of infinity is not comforting, it is exhausting. It means no event is special, no configuration unique, no moment truly rare. Somewhere beyond my horizon, there may be a planet identical to Earth, a room identical to the one I imagine myself floating from, a version of me thinking this exact thought, but unable forever to confirm the others. Existence. Infinity creates meaning and then dissolves it. How do you find purpose in a universe that never runs out of copies? Or is the universe finite but unbounded? There is another possibility, one that bends intuition. The universe may be finite, yet have no edge. like the surface of a sphere. If I travel far enough in one direction, I don't reach a boundary, I return. Not physically perhaps, but mathematically. Space, loops, curves, closes in on itself. If that's true, then beyond the universe doesn't exist. There is only more of it. What if there is no outside of the universe at all? The horizon as a psychological limit at this point. I notice something subtle. The horizon isn't just a physical concept, it's a psychological one. It defines the boundary of what I can imagine, of what I can test, of what I can emotionally accept beyond it. Certainty fades, language weakens, thought itself begins to stretch thin. The horizon marks the edge of comprehension. Is the universe limited, or is my mind the real boundary? The universe that doesn't need me. One uncomfortable realization settles in. The universe does not care whether I observe it. Galaxies form whether or not I see them. Stars explode whether or not I understand why. Reality does not require witnesses. The observable universe exists not because observation is special, but because I am late to a universe already ancient, already vast, already indifferent. What existed before there were minds to notice anything at all? Before observation, for hundreds of millions of years, there were no eyes, no questions, no awareness. Just matter cooling, gravity working, stars igniting in silence. The universe did not wait for consciousness, which suggests something quietly terrifying. Meaning is not built into reality. It is added later by beings like us. If meaning is something we add, what happens when we disappear? The horizon will outlive us long after humanity fades. The universe will continue expanding. Horizons will keep shrinking. More galaxies will slip away eventually. Any remaining observers, any exist, will see only their local group of stars. The rest of the universe erased by distance. The cosmos will appear. Smaller, simpler, lonelier. The truth of its vastness forgotten. Will future civilizations believe they're small? Universe is all that ever existed. I drift once more beside the horizon. Now I understand it better, and I like it less. It is not an edge I can reach, not a mystery I can solve. It is a reminder that knowledge has limits, and those limits are not temporary. They are permanent. No technology will cross them. No intelligence will bypass them. Some truths are separated from us by the structure of reality itself. So, as I float beside a boundary that isn't really there, one question refuses to let go. If the universe hides most of itself beyond horizons I can never cross, am I exploring reality, or only the part it allows me to see? What if the greatest mysteries of existence are not unsolved, but simply unreachable? Once I accept that the universe extends beyond my horizon, a more disturbing realization follows. There are places that will never know I exist, not because they are hiding, not because I am insignificant, but because the universe itself has decided we will never meet. No message will ever cross the gap between us. No signal will ever arrive. No trace will ever remain. We are not separated by distance alone. We are separated by causality, and that changes what existence means. What does it mean to exist if interaction is forever impossible? I imagine the universe not as a single connected whole, but as an ocean filled with invisible islands. Each island is an observable universe, self-contained, causally isolated, surrounded by regions it can never touch from inside my island. Everything seems continuous, but beyond the horizon, the ocean does not end. It simply continues without me. How many universes exist that will never even know Earth once formed? This separation is not temporary. It is not something future technology will solve. No warp drive, no wormhole, no intelligence, no matter how advanced, because the separation is baked into space-time itself. Even light cannot cross it. Even gravity cannot whisper across the gap. These regions are not far away. They are forever unreachable. If nothing can ever pass between us, are we truly part of the same universe? As time moves forward, something tragic happens. The observable universe doesn't grow richer, it grows poorer. Galaxies drift away, signals fade. The cosmic horizon tightens like a closing fist in the distant future. Observers will see fewer stars, fewer galaxies, less evidence that the universe was ever vast. Reality will appear smaller than it truly is. What truths are already disappearing from the universe right now? Somewhere beyond my horizon, a civilization might be forming. They may look at their sky and wonder if they are alone. They may invent telescopes, search for signals, ask the same quiet questions, but the answer will always be silence. Not because no one else exists, but because the universe prevents the conversation. They are not alone. They are isolated. How many civilizations believe they are alone simply because physics forbids connection? Expansion is not violent. It does not tear galaxies apart. It simply stretches the distance between them until interaction becomes impossible. The universe doesn't destroy information, it separates it, and separation, over enough time, is indistinguishable from loss. Is the universe slowly erasing its own history by pulling itself apart? Some theories suggest something even stranger. Our universe may be just one bubble in an endlessly inflating cosmic background. New universes constantly forming, old ones drifting away, each with its own laws, its own constants, its own version of reality. If this is truth, then beyond our horizon isn't just more universe, it's other universes. What if reality itself is constantly reproducing beyond our sight? These other universes may never collide, never interact, never acknowledge each other's existence. They are real but causally sealed, which means the multiverse, if it exists, is not something we can ever explore. It is a theory forever beyond confirmation, a truth without evidence. Can something be real if it can never, ever be observed? This is where my thoughts begin to slow. If most of reality is unreachable, then meaning cannot come from scale. Greatness cannot come from size. Truth cannot come from total knowledge. Meaning must come from something smaller, something local, something fragile. If we can never know the whole universe, where should meaning come from instead? Everything humanity has ever known, every war, every dream, every song exists inside a small bubble of space-time, surrounded by infinity, protected by ignorance, and for the first time, that feels strangely comforting, because without limits, nothing matters. Are limits what make existence feel real? The deeper I drift into these thoughts, the clearer one thing becomes. The universe is not obligated to be understandable. It does not owe us clarity, or completion, or closure. Some questions are not unanswered. They are unanswerable. What if curiosity itself evolved in a universe that can never satisfy it? Beyond the last reachable horizon, the universe continues without sound. No messages, no echoes, no acknowledgement, just expansion. Endless, quiet, indifferent expansion. And I realize something unsettling. The universe is not mysterious because it hides things from us. It is mysterious because it doesn't notice us at all. How do you feel small in a universe that doesn't even know you're here? As I float here, surrounded by invisible regions I'll never touch, one final realization settles in. We are not explorers of the universe. We are witnesses to a fragment of it, a fleeting awareness inside an immeasurable whole. So, as the universe stretches beyond every boundary I can imagine, I'm left with one final question for now. If most of reality will forever remain beyond our reach, is the purpose of consciousness to understand the universe, or simply to experience the small part we're allowed to see? And if that's true, what does the universe gain by letting us exist at all? I used to think the universe would end with something dramatic, a final explosion, a collapsing scream of galaxies, a violent conclusion worthy of its size. But the deeper I drift into its future, the more unsettling the truth becomes. The universe does not rush toward an ending. It slows down, it fades, it forgets how to change. And one day, far beyond any horizon, nothing meaningful happens ever again. What if the end of the universe is not an event, but a permanent stillness? The universe does not have a final moment. There is no last second ticking away. Instead, time stretches forward endlessly, while the universe becomes quieter with each passing era. Stars burn out, galaxies drift apart, energy spreads thinner and thinner. Change becomes rare, then almost impossible. The universe doesn't die. It runs out of differences. Can anything truly happen when nothing is different from anything else? The long goodbye of the stars for now. Stars still shine, but they are temporary. Even the smallest red dwarfs, the most efficient stars ever born, will eventually exhaust their fuel. Trillions of years from now, the last star will flicker out. No explosion, no audience, just darkness replacing light. And when that happens, the night sky everywhere will finally be honest. What does the universe look like when there are no stars left to light it? Galaxies are not eternal structures. They rely on stars to give them shape. As stars die and are no longer replaced, galaxies lose their identity. Spiral arms dissolve. Bright cores fade. What remains are cold remnants, white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes drifting silently through expanding space. Galaxies stop being places, they become memories. If no light remains, can a galaxy still be said to exist? For a while, a very long while, black holes dominate the universe. They are the final organized structures, massive, patient, almost eternal. They orbit nothing, consume nothing new. They simply exist, slowly leaking energy through Hawking radiation. Even black holes are not forever. They just take longer to disappear. What does it mean for something to die if it takes longer than the current age of the universe? For inconceivable timescales, black holes shrink, not violently, quietly, particle by particle, until one day the last black hole evaporates. No stars, no galaxies, no massive objects left. just particles drifting farther, apart in a universe that has forgotten how to gather. When even black holes are gone, what structure remains to mark existence? This state has a name: heat death, not because everything is hot, but because everything is the same temperature. No gradients, no flows, no work can be done. Physics still exists, but it has nothing left to do. The universe reaches maximum entropy and stays there forever. Is a universe still alive if it can never change again? In this future, nothing happens, not because time has stopped, but because nothing meaningful can occur. Particles rarely interact. Reactions almost never complete. Moments pass, but they are indistinguishable from one another. Time loses its narrative. If nothing ever changes, does time still have meaning? Consciousness cannot survive here. No energy gradients, no chemistry, no complexity. Awareness requires contrast, and the future universe offers none. There are no observers, no witnesses, no memories being formed. The universe continues, but no one is left to notice. Does reality require observers, or is observation just a temporary accident? I imagine the last conscious being fades. Their final thought is not panic, it is confusion. They do not witness an ending, they simply fail to continue. And after that, there are no thoughts at all. What was the last question ever asked in the universe? This is the unsettling part. Heat death is not followed by something else. There is no rebirth guaranteed, no reset promised. The universe does not prepare for a next chapter. It simply remains unchanging for eternity. How do you imagine eternity when nothing happens inside it? If no one is there to experience time, does eternity hold meaning? 1 trillion years pass and nothing records it. Another trillion and nothing notices from the inside. Eternity feels identical to a single moment. Is an eternal universe without observers functionally the same as no universe at all? Some theories whisper possibilities: quantum fluctuations, false vacuum decay, spontaneous new universes, but none are guaranteed, and none require this universe to be remembered. If something begins again, it will not be a continuation, it will be a replacement. If a new universe is born, does it care that this one ever existed? The future universe is not hostile, it is indifferent. It does not punish, it does not destroy. It simply allows everything to drift until nothing meaningful remains. Loneliness is not felt because there is no one left to feel it. Is loneliness still loneliness if there is no mind left to experience it? As I drift through this imagined future, something unexpected happens. The present becomes heavier, more fragile, more important, because awareness right now is rare, temporary, and unimaginably precious. Does knowing the universe will go silent make this moment more valuable? One final realization settles in. The universe was not created for consciousness, and it will not preserve it. Awareness is a brief pattern that emerges and disappears, not because it failed, but because nothing lasts forever. So as I imagine a future where the universe no longer changes, where nothing observes and nothing remembers, one question drifts quietly into the darkness. If the universe ends not with destruction, but with silence, what does that say about the meaning of being alive right now? And even more we, the universe's only chance to ever know itself before it forgets everything forever. After imagining the universe going silent, after watching stars fade, black holes dissolve, and time stretch into emptiness, something unexpected happens. The question doesn't end. It becomes sharper, because if the universe eventually forgets everything, then why did it ever remember anything at all? Why, of endless darkness, randomness, and expansion, did awareness appear even once? And why did it appear here, inside a small planet, around an ordinary star, in a universe that does not need witnesses? Why did the universe produce something that can ask questions about it? Consciousness is not a requirement of physics. Atoms do not demand it. Stars do not expect it. Galaxies form perfectly well without it. The universe could have remained entirely unconscious, just matter moving, energy flowing, space-time stretching, and yet at least once it did. Biology became experience, and experience became self-awareness. That chain did not have to happen, which makes it feel less like an accident and more like a mystery. What unlikely conditions had to align just for awareness to exist even briefly? For billions of years, the universe had no inner life. Stars were born and died without being noticed. Galaxies collided in complete silence. Time passed without being felt. Nothing was wrong with this universe. It simply was. Then quietly something changed. Matter began to notice itself. Was consciousness inevitable, or an incredibly fragile coincidence? Awareness exists only during a narrow window of cosmic time. Too early, and the universe is too hot, too violent, too simple, too late, and energy is too spread out, too cold, too uniform. Consciousness appears only in the middle, like a flicker between two eternities of silence. Are we living during the only era when the universe can know itself? When I look at the stars, something strange happens. The universe is no longer just out there. It is being perceived, interpreted, reflected upon. For the first time in its history, parts of the universe are thinking about the whole. This feels important, not because it changes physics, but because it changes perspective. Is consciousness the universe observing itself for the first time? The universe does not hand out meaning. It does not encode purpose into particles. Meaning emerges only when something cares, when something values, when something remembers. Meaning is not fundamental, it is relational, which means meaning exists only where minds exist. If meaning requires minds, what happens to meaning when minds disappear? Every thought you've ever had, every dream, fear, curiosity depends on delicate conditions, stable stars, complex chemistry, a calm corner of the universe. Change any one of these, and awareness never arises. This makes consciousness rare, possibly unimaginably rare. Could this be the only place and time awareness ever happens? The universe is vast, but vastness does not equal importance. A single conscious moment may hold more meaning than a trillion empty galaxies. Scale does not determine significance. Experience does. Is one aware moment more meaningful than an infinite, unconscious universe? The universe cannot wonder why it exists. Stars don't ask. Black holes don't reflect. Space doesn't doubt itself. Only conscious beings do, which means every why ever asked comes from a tiny subset of reality. The universe creates the question, but cannot answer it itself. Are we asking questions the universe itself cannot resolve? The universe did not plan consciousness. It did not request it. Awareness appears without permission and disappears the same way. It is not promised continuity. It is not guaranteed survival. And yet it arises again and again where conditions allow. Why? Does awareness keep emerging even when the universe does nothing to protect it? Quantum physics hints at something unsettling. Observation changes outcomes. Measurement affects reality. This doesn't mean consciousness controls the universe, but it suggests awareness is not irrelevant. Reality behaves differently when observed. Does the universe behave one way when watched and another when it is alone? No matter how far science goes, one question survives untouched. Why is there something instead of nothing? Not how, not when. Why? Physics explains structure, not existence. Laws explain behavior, not origin. Why do laws exist at all instead of absolute nothingness? The universe did not have to exist. Nothingness was a valid state. No space, no time, no questions, and yet existence happened. That is the deepest mystery of all. Why did reality choose existence over silence? If awareness is rare, are we among the first or the last? Maybe consciousness appears briefly across many universes, like sparks in the dark, appearing, questioning, disappearing, leaving no trace behind. Are we witnesses at the beginning or echoes near the end? One truth becomes unavoidable. The universe offers no final explanation. It allows awareness, but provides no instruction manual. We exist without justification. And that may be the point. What if existence doesn't need a reason to be meaningful? At this moment, it would be easy to conclude something to offer comfort, to assign purpose. But the universe doesn't resolve questions, it expands them. And this question, why awareness exists at all, is not meant to be closed. It's meant to lead somewhere deeper. At some point, wonder becomes suspicion, not suspicion of intent, not suspicion of design, but suspicion that something is too precise. As I drift deeper into the structure of reality, I begin to notice something quietly unsettling. The universe works, but only barely. Change a number by a fraction shift, a constant, slightly, and everything collapses into silence. It's as if existence itself is balanced on the thinnest possible edge. Why does reality work at all, instead of failing instantly? The universe is governed by a small set of numbers, not laws. Numbers. The strength of gravity, the charge of the electron, the mass of fundamental particles, the rate of cosmic expansion. They are not derived from deeper principles, at least not yet. They are simply given, and if even one of them were slightly different, the universe we know would never exist. Why do these numbers fall into the narrow range that allows anything at all? If gravity were weaker, matter would never clump. No stars, no galaxies, no chemistry. If gravity were stronger, the universe would collapse too quickly. Stars would burn out instantly. Black holes would dominate everything. Either way, no time for awareness, only silence. Why does gravity sit exactly where it needs to be, neither too weak nor too strong? The universe began expanding, but not too fast and not too slow. If expansion were slightly faster, matter would spread too thin for structure. If slightly slower, gravity would reverse it all into collapse. Instead, expansion walks a narrow line, just fast enough to avoid collapse, just slow enough to allow complexity. Who or what decided how fast the universe should grow? Even chemistry is delicately tuned. If electrons were heavier, atoms would collapse. If lighter, they wouldn't bind properly. Carbon, the backbone of life, exists because nuclear forces align just right, change them slightly, and carbon never forms. No complex molecules, no biology, no thoughts. Why does the universe allow complexity instead of forbidding it? The more I look, the stranger it feels. Reality is not robust, it is brittle. It works, but only within razor-thin margins. This is not what randomness usually looks like. Random systems don't sit perfectly balanced, they fall apart. Is this balance coincidence or something deeper? Physicists call this the fine-tuning problem, not because it implies intention, but because it demands explanation. Why do the constants of nature fall inside the tiny range that allows existence? Why not elsewhere? Why not nothing? Why does the universe feel improbably suited for awareness? One explanation whispers calmly. We observe these conditions because only under these conditions can observers exist. If the universe were different, no one would be here to notice. This feels logical and deeply unsatisfying. Does "we're here because we're here" actually explain anything at all? Imagine a lottery with trillions of losing tickets and one winning number. Someone wins, they exist, and they say, "Of course I won, otherwise I wouldn't be here." That doesn't explain the lottery. It just explains the winner. What explains the existence of the lottery itself? Another explanation stretches outward. Perhaps there are countless universes, each with different constants. Most fail instantly. Few work. We live in one of the rare survivors. This explains fine-tuning statistically, but it introduces something else. An unseen infinity. Is invoking infinite, unseen universes really an explanation or a surrender? The multiverse cannot be tested. Its other universes lie forever beyond our horizon. No evidence can reach us, which makes this explanation strange. It explains everything, but predicts nothing. Can a theory be true if it can never be confirmed? 3. Possibilities remain. Chance. We are impossibly luckiness. Necessity. The universe could not have been different. Something we don't yet understand. None are comfortable. Each one reshapes reality, which is more unsettling. Cosmic luck or cosmic inevitability. If the constants are necessary, fixed by deeper laws, then reality had no choice. Existence was inevitable, not planned, not accidental, just unavoidable. This removes mystery and replaces it with something colder. Is inevitability more comforting than chance or more terrifying? If chance rules everything, then awareness is a rare accident, a brief sparkle in an uncaring cosmos. No purpose, no direction, just probability and silence before and after. How do you live knowing existence may be a cosmic accident? There is a possibility we rarely speak aloud. What if the universe is not tuned for life, but tuned to allow questioning, not survival, not comfort, just awareness? What if the universe's only requirement is that it can be questioned? Maybe the deepest feature of the universe is not matter or energy, but intelligibility. The fact that it can be thought about at all that equations describe it, that minds can model it. This alone is strange. Why is the universe understandable instead of incomprehensible? As I drift back from these thoughts, nothing resolves. The universe remains balanced, still working, still unexplained, fine-tuned enough to exist, fragile enough to fail. And that balance continues moment by moment. So as reality continues to hold itself together on an impossibly thin edge, one question refuses to settle. Is the universe balanced this way by chance, by necessity, or by something we haven't learned how to name yet? And even more quietly, what happens if this balance is not permanent, and one day the knife edge finally slips? At some point, the universe stops feeling merely vast. It begins to feel structured, not designed, not intentional, but layered, as if what I experience is not the full depth of reality, but only the part I am allowed to perceive. And the thought arrives slowly, almost unwillingly. What if the universe I see is not the base layer of existence at all? What if everything we observe is only the outermost surface of something deeper? This is not a scientific observation. It's a sensation, a quiet discomfort that grows when I notice how reality behaves. Space and time come in units. Energy jumps in steps. Information appears fundamental. The universe doesn't feel continuous. It feels sampled, like reality is rendered only where it needs to be. Why does the universe behave as if it's made of information instead of substance? At the smallest scales, the universe refuses to be smooth. There are pixels of space, ticks of time, minimum units of energy. This doesn't prove anything, but it whispers a possibility. Reality might be discrete because it is computed. Nature stops us from zooming in forever. The idea appears cautiously in modern physics and philosophy. What if our universe is a simulation, not a video game, not something crude, but a reality generated by deeper rules, running on a deeper layer? If intelligence can simulate worlds, then eventually it probably will. If simulations are possible, why assume we are not already inside one? Here is where the idea becomes disturbing. If advanced civilizations create simulations, they will create many. And if simulated realities vastly outnumber base realities, then statistically, it becomes more likely to be simulated than original. This is not belief, it is arithmetic. Are we more likely to be real or a convincing copy of something else? I return to the cosmic horizon in my mind, that boundary where information stops arriving. What if it's not a limit of space, but a limit of rendering? What if beyond the horizon, detail simply isn't generated? Not because it doesn't exist, but because no observer is there to need it. Why should reality spend resources rendering regions no one can ever observe? Quantum mechanics offers an eerie parallel. Outcomes are undefined until measured. Possibilities collapse into facts only when observed. This doesn't require consciousness, but it requires interaction. Reality behaves as if it waits. Does the universe wait to be observed before deciding what happens? Everywhere I look, the universe is efficient. It does the minimum required. No extra forces, no unnecessary complexity. As if it is optimized, as if excess detail is avoided. Why is reality optimized at all, instead of extravagantly wasteful? If the universe is generated, then physical laws are not fundamental. They are rules of the environment, parameters of the system, constraints, not necessities, which means they could be changed. What would happen if the rules of reality were updated? A simulated world does not know its creators. Characters inside a game cannot see the hardware. They infer, they speculate, they argue endlessly, but the system itself remains silent. Would a simulated universe ever be able to confirm it is simulated? This idea loops back to something familiar. The regions beyond our horizon will never communicate with us. They are unreachable, unverifiable, unobservable, just like whatever lies outside. A simulation. Why do the limits of observation resemble the limits of a constructed world? If we are simulated, then whoever created us may also be simulated. Layers within layers, realities, nested like dreams, each one believing itself fundamental, each one unable to see above. How many layers of reality could exist before anyone reaches the bottom? At this point, a quiet resistance appears. Even if this were true, does it change anything? Pain still hurts. Wonder still feels real. Awareness still matters. Meaning does not disappear just because its foundation shifts. If experience feels real, does its origin matter at all? If we are simulated, someone chose to create a world with suffering, with death, with uncertainty. This raises uncomfortable questions, not about us, but about them. What kind of intelligence creates a universe like this one? Simulations can end. They can be paused, reset, erased. This introduces a new kind of fragility, not cosmic computational existence, dependent on continuation. What if reality can be switched off without warning? Oddly, this thought does not create panic, it creates stillness. If reality is temporary, then presence becomes precious. If everything is conditional, then attention matters more. Does uncertainty make awareness deeper instead of weaker? And yet simulation may only be another layer of the same question. Whether base or generated, existence still exists. The mystery simply moves up one level. Who created the creators? Why does anything exist at all? Does simulation explain reality or just postpone the mystery? The universe does not confirm, it does not deny, it continues expanding. Stars still burn, questions still form. Reality behaves exactly the same whether simulated or not, which may be the most unsettling part. What if the universe behaves identically, whether it is real or artificial? As I drift through these ideas, one thought refuses to fade. If reality is layered, then the horizon I cannot cross may not be the edge of space, but the edge of permission. So as I float inside a universe that feels increasingly structured, balanced, optimized, and strangely economical, one question remains open. If reality is only the surface of something deeper, what exists beyond the layer I am allowed to perceive? And even more quietly, what happens if one day the layer I live in is no longer needed? There is something I've been quietly assuming this entire time, that events move forward, that moments pass, that the universe flows from past to present to future. But as I drift deeper into the structure of reality, that assumption begins to feel less certain, because physics does not experience time, and the universe does not remember moving. Only I do. What if time doesn't flow at all and only feels like it does inside the mind. In physics, there is no special moment called now, no universal present, no cosmic clock ticking in the background. Events simply exist, spread across space. Past, present, and future are not separated by nature. They are separated by perception. Why does the universe refuse to recognize the present moment we live inside? According to relativity, time is a dimension like space. Moments do not arrive or leave. They already exist, all of them. Every birthday, every extinction, every future star that has not yet formed. They are laid out together inside spacetime. If the future already exists, why does it feel unknown to us? This idea has a name: the block universe, a reality where nothing moves forward, because everything already is. The universe is not a movie, it is a sculpture, complete, unchanging. We do not travel through time. We experience different slices of it. If all moments exist at once, why do we feel trapped inside just one? The past feels solid. Unsettable. But in physics, the past is no more real than the future. Both are equally present in spacetime. The only difference is access. We remember one direction, we cannot remember the other. Is memory the only thing separating past from future? Time seems to move because entropy increases. Order spreads into disorder. Ice melts, stars burn fuel. Energy disperses, but entropy does not require time to flow. It only requires difference. What if time feels real only because things fall apart? At the smallest scales, the laws of physics don't care about time's direction. Equations work the same forward or backward. Nothing fundamental points toward the future. The arrow of time is not written into reality. It emerges accidentally. Why? Does the universe allow time to feel one way if its laws don't require it? Here, awareness returns to the center. Consciousness strings moments together. Memory creates continuity. Expectation creates direction. Without minds, the universe does not experience flow. It simply exists. Does time move or do minds assemble it? From still moments, nothing in physics forbids remembering the future. The equations don't stop it. So why can't we? Because memory requires low entropy, and the future is more disordered than the past. Information cannot be stored. There is forgetfulness, the real reason we experience time forward. Imagine freezing the universe, not stopping motion, but stopping change. Every particle fixed, every interaction paused. Would time still exist? Without change, there is no way to measure duration. Time dissolves without motion. If nothing changes, can time still pass at all? Physics suggests eternalism, all moments equally real, but experience insists otherwise. We feel becoming, we feel progression. This tension has no resolution. Both views work, neither explains the other. Why does lived experience contradict the structure of reality itself? The now is not a place, it is a process. The brain stitches perception, memory, and anticipation into a moving point. That moving point feels real, but it has no physical location. Is the present moment something the brain invents to survive? Different observers experience different times, different speeds, different gravities. There is no single timeline, no master sequence. The universe allows countless versions of now to exist simultaneously. If everyone lives in a different present, what does now even mean? At the edge of the observable universe, time behaves strangely. Clocks slow, signals stretch. Near black holes, time nearly stops. The universe already knows how to erase time. What happens to time where observation breaks down completely? This question grows heavier. Does the universe itself experience anything? Or is experience confined to small pockets of awareness like us? If so, time is not fundamental, it is biological. Is time something living systems generate rather than something the universe provides? If time is not fundamental, then before the universe makes no sense. There was no before, only different regions of space-time. Existence does not begin, it simply is. Does asking what came before already assume a mistake? A timeless universe is unsettling. No progress, no destination, everything eternally present, and yet awareness still moves, which means experience and reality may operate on different rules. What if consciousness does not obey the same structure as the universe? Time refuses to collapse into certainty. It is real enough to feel, illusory enough to question. The universe offers structure. The mind supplies motion. Neither fully explains the other. So as I float inside a universe where all moments may already exist, where the present is constructed and the future may be as real as the past, one question remains quietly open. If time does not truly flow, what exactly is moving when I feel myself passing through life? And even deeper still, if the universe is timeless, why was awareness given the illusion of becoming at all? There is a question I have been avoiding, not because it lacks evidence, but because of what it implies. I've been assuming the universe exists whether or not anyone is watching, that stars burn unseen, that galaxies collide in silence, that reality does not require attention. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if the universe behaves differently when no one is there to notice? What if existence itself depends on being observed? For most of history, we believed the universe was independent, solid, objective, unaffected by perception. Reality was there first. Observers came later. This feels comforting. It places us inside something larger, but not responsible for it. Yet modern physics quietly complicates this idea. Why does physics keep inserting observers into its most fundamental equations? At the quantum level, particles do not have definite properties until they are measured, not hidden properties, undefined ones, position, momentum, state. They exist as probabilities until observation forces a choice. How can something exist without having a definite state? This is not philosophy. It is experiment. Particles behave differently depending on whether they are observed, not because consciousness controls them, but because interaction matters. Reality responds to being asked a question. Why does reality change its behavior when information is gathered? Imagine the universe before life. No eyes, no instruments, no awareness. Did quantum possibilities remain unresolved? Did reality exist in a suspended state waiting? This question makes physicists uncomfortable. What did the universe look like before anything could observe it? Some experiments suggest something even stranger. Measurements made in the present, can determine how particles behaved in the past, not change the past, but define it, as if reality waits to know what story it will tell. Does observation reach backward? In time, reality seems hesitant. It does not commit until interaction forces it to. This is not how classical objects behave, but it is how the universe behaves at its deepest level, as if certainty is optional. Why would a universe prefer uncertainty unless observed? Observation does not merely record reality, it participates in it. This does not mean we create the universe, but it suggests we complete it, like a sentence that ends only when red dot is reality unfinished until someone experiences it. Imagine a universe with no observers. Events happen, but nothing records them. No memory, no trace, no distinction between happening and not happening. Does an unrecorded event meaningfully exist? If nothing remembers an event, did it truly occur? Objectivity assumes a shared reality. But if observation affects outcomes, then reality depends on perspective. Different observers see different results. There is no single observer-free description. Is there a version of reality that exists without reference to any observer at all? Most physicists avoid invoking consciousness. They speak of detectors, measurements, interactions. But detectors are built by minds. Measurements are chosen by intention. At some point, awareness enters the loop. Can we truly remove consciousness from a universe that keeps responding to observation? A physicist once asked, does a quantum system remain in superposition until a conscious mind observes it, or does measurement alone suffice? The universe does not answer clearly. Both interpretations work. Why does reality allow multiple interpretations that contradict each other? Some propose a participatory universe, one where observers are not accidents but necessary components. The universe generates observers so it can define itself. What if awareness is not a byproduct but a requirement? If observers are necessary, then consciousness is not incidental, it is functional. The universe does not merely contain awareness, it uses it to turn probabilities into facts. Does the universe require minds to become real? This idea feels dangerous because it reverses the hierarchy, not minds inside the universe, but the universe expressed through minds, reality experiencing itself through temporary perspectives. Are we the universe experiencing itself locally? This question becomes unavoidable. If observers are necessary, what happens in a future universe where no awareness remains? Does reality become undefined again? Does the universe blur back into possibility? When the last observer disappears, what happens to reality? Recall the silent future. No stars, no life, no minds. If observation matters, then the universe's final state is not just cold. It is unobserved. Is the universe's ultimate fate to return to ambiguity. At this point, logic reaches its boundary. Physics cannot answer whether observers are fundamental. Philosophy cannot test it. The universe does not comment. Why does the most important question sit exactly where answers stop? I do not arrive at certainty only. Tension. Reality seems complete without observers, yet behaves differently when observed. Awareness feels unnecessary, yet the universe keeps producing it. This contradiction remains unresolved. So, as I float inside a universe that may hesitate, without witnesses, that may only define itself through observation, one question stays open, unfinished, and quietly growing. If the universe does not require observers to exist, why does it behave as if it notices when we are watching? And more unsettling still, what happens to reality when there is no one left to ask what is real? At some point, every journey expects an ending, a final explanation, a last answer, a moment where everything resolves. But the universe has been quietly teaching me something different. Some questions do not end, not because we haven't reached the answer, but because ending was never the purpose. What if the universe is not built to answer questions, but to generate them? Every explanation I've followed eventually opens another door. The universe expands. Time dissolves. Observation matters. Reality hesitates. Each answer removes one mystery and reveals a deeper one beneath it, as if certainty is not stable, as if knowing too much undoes itself. Why does understanding the universe seem to increase mystery instead of reducing it? Physics describes behavior, not meaning. Equations tell us how things happen, never why they exist. They predict outcomes without explaining purpose at some depth. Explanation stops being explanatory. It becomes descriptive. Is why a question the universe never intended to answer. Every inquiry eventually collapses into one. Why is there something rather than nothing? Not how, not when, not from what, why anything exists at all. And the universe remains silent. Why does the most important question receive no response from reality itself? Some thinkers suggest nothingness is unstable, that nothing cannot exist, that existence is not a choice but a necessity. If that's true, the universe didn't decide to exist. It had no alternative. What if existence is unavoidably? Nothingness was never an option. If something must exist, why this structure? Why these laws? Why this balance? Why this strange universe capable of awareness? The question recedes, never disappears. Why does every answer feel like a hallway instead of a destination? The universe is not optimized for comprehension. It is optimized for consistency. Truth does not require understanding. Reality functions whether or not it is grasped. Clarity appears optional. Why would a universe capable of thought refuse to be fully understood? Awareness changes everything. The universe becomes aware of itself, but only locally, only temporarily, only partially. Consciousness asks questions. The universe cannot answer, yet the universe keeps creating minds that ask, why does the universe keep producing question askers if answers don't exist? Perhaps meaning is not embedded in reality. Perhaps it is constructed by minds as a response to uncertainty, not discovered, but created. A survival strategy in an indifferent cosmos is meaning something the universe provides, something consciousness invents to cope. If every question had an answer, curiosity would end. If curiosity ended, awareness would stagnate. The unanswered question keeps consciousness alive. What if unanswered questions are what sustain intelligence itself? The universe is not closed, not conceptually, not informationally. That there is always more, beyond reach, beyond the horizon, beyond the equation, beyond the explanation. Is the universe intentionally incompletor, fundamentally open. An ending would be dishonest. Any final answer would shrink reality. The universe resists finality because finality is artificial. Existence does not conclude. Why does any attempt to finalize reality feel false? Awareness does not solve the universe. It experiences it. It notices beauty without explanation, fear without resolution, wonder without closure, and that may be enough. What if the role of consciousness is not to understand, but simply to witness? The question does not demand resolution. It accompanies awareness, like a horizon always present, never reachable. What if the question is not a problem, but a feature? The universe feels intimate, not because it cares, but because awareness projects itself outward. We see ourselves reflected in an indifferent structure. Meaning appears because we look for it. Is the universe meaningful, or do we make it feel that way by observing it? If the universe doesn't answer on, awareness keeps asking, then existence is a dialogue with no conclusion, a question without punctuation. What if existence is not a statement, but a question mark? Silence does not mean absence. It means no. Response is required. The universe does not explain itself because it does not need to. Why do we expect reality to justify itself at all? The final illusion is that understanding is owed. It is not. The universe exists without permission, meaning arises without instruction. Awareness continues without answers. What if the need for answers is the only thing keeping the question alive? Not with certainty, not with despair, but with presence. Awareness inside an unresolved reality. A temporary witness inside an infinite structure. So, as I drift here, inside a universe that does not explain itself, inside awareness that refuses to stop asking, I am left with the only question that truly remains. If the universe never intended to answer why it exists, why did it create something capable of asking? And if that question never ends, is that not itself the closest thing to meaning we're ever meant to have?